this is the thing that's like really scary about government. Like when atomic weapons were first being developed in the US, the Manhattan Project and stuff, physicists were concerned that if they detonated these things, it might create some kind of crazy chain reaction that would like essentially create a plasma that would just burn off the whole atmosphere of Earth. And they didn't quite know if that was actually going to happen. And they were like, okay, well, whatever, we'll do it anyway.
If they don't really know jack shit about science or anything, like, they're going to be like, yeah, whatever, fuck you.
Yeah, because we need to defeat the Germans. Oh wait, never mind. Now it's the Japanese. It just turns into numbers at that point. It's like, hey, each one of those people that died is a person, and they didn't need to die for that.
Right, like you buy a gun and you hope you never have to use it.
Yeah, essentially. Well, this would be more like developing your own gun. Nukes are very powerful weapons, very devastating. A great threat to your enemies. But, once you detonate enough nukes in your enemy's territory, well, hey, we're kind of in a sort of closed system here on planet Earth. It's going to come back around to you eventually, and you're going to be sucking down all the radioactivity too. That kind of power in such a small space, like in the hands of so few.
Right.
Like it's a... Like we're not talking like the Bronze Age or something where we throw spears at each other and people are riding horses. No, we for the last 100 years basically have had the ability to obliterate all life on planet Earth. All right, welcome to yet another kitchen sink microscopy. I am Eric Rosenblatt, and we'd love it if you'd like. Excuse me, I swear it's not COVID. We'd love it if you'd like and share this video and subscribe to the channel and all that stuff. It really helps us out. Yeah.
Oh, I'm Casey Rochford. I don't have COVID anymore. I got rid of it finally. We would also, implore you to hang around to the end of this episode, because therein you will find a shiny new piece of music. How does something shine if it's a sound? Well, you haven't stuck around to the end of an episode yet, then, have you? You don't understand. You got to be in the know, man.
Yeah, you got to be one of the cool kids.
So you can find all that stuff on Spotify, Google, Amazon, iTunes, and others. Anyway, what kind of hijinks should we get up tonight, brain?
Well, try and take over the world.
Same thing we do every night.
Well, I think this is kind of a current event topic, but it really isn't. I think it's sort of timeless. But as I'm sure the viewers probably are aware, at the time of this recording, I mean, we're talking the 25th of January, 2022. Well, Russia is essentially militarily surrounding Ukraine, and China is kind of sitting on the edge of Taiwan, waiting to pounce. When one does one thing, the other's probably going to move too. So there might be a little bit of a takeover in those regards. And you know, we could probably talk about that a lot, but I also think, like, you know, it's been a long time since there's been like a really huge war. You know, World War II is probably the last time. Yeah, I mean, the 40s, basically, when a whole bunch of countries just started duking it out for reasons unknown. Really, honestly, they are. And it's like 80 years essentially since something big like that has happened, and a lot has changed in almost a century. Technology and stuff, like, it is way different now than it was then. You know, back then the Navy was the thing. Like, aircraft were sort of like, people were kind of like, oh, that's never going to take off, no pun intended. And now aircraft are the thing. Like, nobody, you know, hardly, well, we've decommissioned in the US all the battleships. Like, they're done, and now it's aircraft carriers, and well, now it's also spacecraft too, and stuff. But it's like, I wonder
if aliens helped the Wright brothers. Conspiracy.
Because yeah, exactly. Yeah, how do you go from building bicycles to building aircraft, huh? Wait a minute. There's an in-between step, and I think it's fucking aliens. It has to be. But you know, I kind of wonder, given all of the changes that have happened over that time period. I mean, yeah, there have been like conflicts and stuff and things happening, but nothing really big. And I'll tell you what, think what you sorry. Think what you want about China or Russia or whatever. You know, you can believe whatever you want, but the two combined, and they probably, well, it'd be like Wonder Twin powers activate at that point. The two combined, or maybe I guess Captain Power, you know, by your powers combined. Like, they would be invincible. Totally invincible. Like, China plus Russia, oh, come on. And the way things have changed, like, I just wonder what the future of warfare is. You know, like, what would happen if there was another world war? You know, what was it? I think people always
Einstein.
Say, yeah. I know not
sticks
what.
And stones.
Yeah, that famous quote.
Yeah, like the next generation of war. What's that going to look like? And you know, I think you and I were talking, and you mentioned something about raining hell from orbit. You know, people are looking into that or doing that, possibly.
Well, yeah, like a good kinetic bomb essentially would be devastating, and it'd be very easy to do. Well, and yeah, I think China's experimented with some stuff, and they have one that's now like rocket propelled. So not only does it just fall based on gravity, but it pushes itself even faster. So
I still think you would need like some kind of explosive just to get like the sheer radius. Like that, I feel like that's going to be a very impacted zone, like, but not necessarily the wide scale destruction.
I don't know about that. I mean, if you look at meteor craters throughout the world, and the proposed size of the meteor, very small meteors have created, you know, tens of miles wide craters on Earth. Really small, like the size of a car, is enough to make. I think that might be the. Trying to think of the particular crater. There's one in like Arizona or something, and it was about the size of a car, I think, that came down. So that's, well, hey, SpaceX launched a Tesla into space. So if they could do that, and then they just turn it around and drop it to Earth, like imagine the kind of damage. Oh no, obviously it's not solid, but
The
all about
aliens
mass
are
and
like, go away. You gave us this mega heave. He drops it back in the atmosphere.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder, like, what it. I think when people think of warfare, I mean, nukes are still on the table. That's still a huge problem that I worry about. Like, you get people riled up enough, and they're going to start pushing buttons and flinging nuclear bombs at each other, and God help us if that ever happens. But
well, if it's coming to that though, there's a thought, or I mean, I guess this is like data that you can look at, but it's like when there's big threats for nuclear here on Earth is like when we see the most UFO sightings and abduction reportings and stuff like that. It's like there's this idea that we weren't really on any alien maps until we got nuclear technology, and then they were like, "Oh shit, we didn't think they'd have that this soon." And then they like show up, and then they're like, "Don't blow yourselves up. You're like your senior year of high school of science project."
Yeah.
Like,
well, you got a point there. I mean yeah, things accelerated immensely after the 40s.
mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
the next
maybe
generation of warfare here might even include alliance with aliens.
oh, that would be weird.
What if Russia and China were just like, you know what? Fuck America. We're telling everyone. And we're not only telling everyone, we're going to have these aliens come down and attack our opponents.
But of course, one of the problems with that is eventually your allies might turn on you and become your enemy. You know,
like in World War II.
Yeah, exactly. Or one, in fact, too. I mean, yeah, maybe. Because I kind of believe there's something out there, some sort of beings. I don't know what they are, but I'm pretty certain there's something there. And so, what if, like you said, they have an interest in us not obliterating each other and the planet and wiping out all life for some stupid fucking political disagreement. And what if there's an intervention where it's like, oh, we start, the nukes start flying and all of a sudden UFOs come down and just intercept them and deactivate them, and like nothing happens. And we're like, oh shit. Like, I could see that happening. That might happen.
I'm wondering, how would a nuke react in the void of space?
What do you mean?
Like what? Well, like once it's detonated or whatever, like what's it deriving fuel from? Because there's very Spartan combustible elements floating around in space.
Well, okay, that's the one of the things about nuclear weapons is that they don't require fuel. The fuel's internal. It's neutrons essentially colliding with things and creating a cascading effect, I guess. And so it doesn't need any external fuel or air or anything. It's just like particles colliding and stuff getting out of hand, I guess.
But I guess I was thinking that in itself was kind of combustible or something, because like that much like kinetic energy would be expelling heat.
Oh, it does.
And possibly to the point of igniting oxygen in the atmosphere or whatever. But it's like if your, I don't know, like effective zone was dependent on things being ignited, I don't think that would work too well if it detonated in space. But if it's just like a concussive force, like from a microscopic or not even microscopic level, like
yeah,
like way down there, if it's just forced from that, like that would be immense.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think it begins as an implosive force, but it's the amount of energy radiated from that does the damage. Certainly to life forms, the all the radioactive stuff that comes out of it, all the I mean, it's essentially nowadays is basically like fusion. Um, so all kinds of bad things come out of those bombs.
I bet aliens would be concerned about that because there might be some like um, collateral damage as far as radiation goes. Like
Ooh,
it
yeah.
might come their way. Like you know,
Well, and yeah, I mean,
like
maybe.
that's what why I was thinking about like what would a nuke do in space because there it's like unobstructed,
Well, we've
sort
tested
of
that
to like
already
have we?
as humans. Yeah, we've done that. In fact, they detonated nukes. I think in the uh, Van Allen belts to see what happens up in the upper atmosphere to see if there's like
Huh.
any effect. But this is the thing. This is the thing that's like really scary about government. Like when atomic weapons were first being developed in the US, the Manhattan Project and stuff, physicists were concerned that if they detonated these things, it might create some kind of crazy chain reaction that would like essentially create a plasma that would just burn off the whole atmosphere of Earth. And they didn't quite know if that was actually going to happen. And they were like, okay, well, whatever, we'll do it anyway. Like, think about that. Like,
Yeah.
all of that is in the interest of warfare and this like idiotic conflict. Like, oh man. And
That's
that's
from like giving the power to like you know this commander in chief moniker for the president. Like if they don't really know jack shit about science or anything, like they're gonna be like, yeah, whatever, fuck you. You know?
yeah, because we need to defeat the Germans. Oh wait, never mind. Now it's the Japanese. Um, oh wait, the Japanese are going to surrender. Well, bomb them anyway.
Yeah.
That's essentially what
I
happened.
could never figure that out.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that was so wrong.
whoops, the bomb
Yeah.
slipped out.
Oh man, and nobody's held accountable for that. Like, how many people died for that? Like, if I kill somebody, I'm going to be held accountable. They're going to rake my balls over the coals over that. But well, I guess it's the whole like one death is a tragedy and a million deaths is a statistic, right? So you kill a million people or whatever, and it's like, oh well, oh, that was funny. Like that's kind of how it seems. Like it just turns into numbers at that point. It's like each one of those people that died is a person, and they didn't need to die for that.
Yeah.
But thinking about it, like with how far things have progressed, we've got some crazy robots now, and we're kind of dipping our toes into nanotechnology, and designer viruses and things. The Wuhan Virology Lab.
There's like, but there's that like worldwide ban on biological weapons and stuff like that, and I don't know. It seems really risky for a country to like dabble in that.
Well,
just
no,
because of the kind of backlash
use of them, but they still develop them and work on them and experiment behind the scenes, because it's like, oh well, we're not actually deploying these things. We're just seeing what happens. Like what if,
right? Like you buy a gun and you hope you never have to use it.
Yeah, essentially. Well, this would be more like developing your own gun.
Yeah, but like that's the premise of defense or whatever.
Yeah, and I guess fair enough, because well, people talk shit about all these like virology experiments and stuff where they're building designer viruses and testing things out and trying to develop countermeasures for them. Like, I think that's fair. That's reasonable. When it gets out, that's a problem. And maybe, you know, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, maybe we ought not to be going down this territory. This path might be a dark one, you know, like, well, either if it gets out, as in the case of the last few years, or it is known to somebody and it's actually employed as a weapon. That's a problem, because once it's known, then it can be used. So
here's the thing. If you wanted to weaponize a virus, that's not like a very picky selector when it comes to who it will attack.
True.
So it's, what I'm trying to say is, it's not a good concerted attack like poisoning the well would be, like something that will just make you sick and die, versus what will maybe make you sick but won't necessarily make you die, and then it will spread to people who are not our enemies,
or your own
because
self.
of travel and stuff like that. Or your own self. Yeah.
Well,
I've always said that about like contrails. Like, why would the government poison the same air they breathe?
Well, and the thing is, it's very similar to nukes. Like, yeah, nukes are very powerful weapons, very devastating, a great threat to your enemies. But, you know, once you detonate enough nukes in your enemy's territory, well, hey, we're kind of in a sort of closed system here on planet Earth. It's going to come back around to you eventually, and you're going to be sucking down all the radioactivity too. So, I mean, but that's what humans do. We develop shit that's like over the top, and this is what I'm saying about robots and nanotechnology. You know, I've seen the Terminator movies, you know, and like such things like sci-fi cautionary tales, Minority Report and things. And I do kind of worry about these technologies getting out of hand, that, you know, with enough desperation, we might kind of pull out the I guess lockout tag out thing that prevents a robot from doing something, like from just indiscriminately killing, because, you know, the moment calls for it. Or nanotechnology. Well, we're like, well, hey, you know, at this point we have this nanobot bomb, right, that drops these nanobots and they convert steel to something, to rust or whatever. That's all they do. And at some point somebody gets really desperate and they're like, well, you know, we're kind of losing the battle. Why don't we just say, I don't know, we're going to break carbon bonds or something. That's all it does, and replicate. Well, that turns the planet into gray goo.
Yeah.
Like, essentially.
Yeah.
And all that's going to be left is the goo and the nanobots looking for more goo, or more things to turn into goo. And I kind of worry about that. And this is the thing that's so dangerous about putting that kind of power in such a small space, like in the hands of so few.
Right.
Like it's a, like we're not talking like the Bronze Age or something where we throw spears at each other and people are riding horses. No, we for the last 100 years basically have had the ability to obliterate all life on planet Earth. I mean, it's just shocking given humankind's propensity to fight that we haven't used that yet. But, you know, there might be things that we don't understand. Like, nukes are pretty simple, right? It's a It's a warhead on the end of a missile, intercontinental. It's an ICBM. You fire it into space, and it comes down, and boom, and there's an explosion. Right? Pretty simple. But things like nanobots are they're not so like the implications are far more far reaching. Like it's a very scary thing. It really scares me. Like
in thinking about like the next generation of war, I can't help but think how an alternate universe would have looked if we didn't have the technological development pressures of World War II. Like coming up with nuclear energy to, obliterate the enemy or whatever. Like if you jumped into an alternate universe at this very time where something in the past changed and affected technology, your tech would be like way different.
Oh yeah,
like you would be like, what the hell did I just step into? Is this the past? Or like, oh wow, is this the future? It like all depends on like the history,
and the pressures, like
on
yielded
the evolution of it.
Well, because like World War II, medical technology drastically changed, food packaging technology, remote control, computers. That was a thing that happened then. Yeah. Nukes, jet aircraft, like all kinds of stuff came out of that. And I mean, perhaps necessity is the mother of invention in that regard, that like those things may not have come about if it weren't for warfare, right? Like time. almost all of our technologies could kind of like go back to that. We're always trying to keep up with the Joneses or one up the other guy, right?
Like I think by now in our lifetimes, if World War II never happened, I think we still would have by now nuclear technology, just because like the evolution of us getting there, like evolution of tech is always like this logarithmic scale. And that begs the question, is there singularity? But that's a whole other episode.
Oh man. But yeah,
which I think we've talked about, actually.
I think we have, yeah. Well, and scientists, like, this isn't something that was necessarily, nuclear bombs and nuclear energy wasn't really born out of World War II. It was merely accelerated by that.
Right.
By that. Like, scientists were already working on that stuff and hypothesizing. There were ideas about, but getting the funding to do these big projects didn't come around until, well, everybody was like arguing with each other. And
see, but here's the problem. Like some physical world force with that much power falling into the hands of a species that's sociologically still very adolescent.
You're talking like humans,
bad timing, right? Bad timing.
Oh no, I totally agree. Like I think we figured out we harnessed the power of the atom a little bit too early.
Yep.
Like
we're like, well, let's see what happens.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe I don't know. It could like ignite the atmosphere, I think, but like, oh shit. Like, oh man. Yeah. Well, and then we built more and more and more of them. Because conflict, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I do kind of wonder, like, how different, kind of going along with what you said, like this alternate history sort of thing, or alternate timeline. Like, what would Earth look like if we were not warfaring species? Like, if we weren't really inclined to fight in that way, but more like, hey, let's explore, let's try to figure this shit out. Like, I honestly think if we didn't kill millions of people over the millennia, over borders and religion and skin color and culture and whatnot, like, we might have been a spacefaring race in the BCE territory. Like, we might, and I honestly think we used to be, and then fucking devolved.
Yeah.
I have this whole philosophy around that, but
I'm
that's
going to blame religion again.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's again, it's a double-edged sword. Like I think there's pros and cons, but probably a lot more cons, especially in that time period. But yeah, what if we didn't spend all of our resources and all of our people um, fighting each other? What if it was more a matter of like trade or exploration? That was the goal. Like, hey, why don't we find out what's over here? What's over there? Let's do this and do that and build this thing. And what if it was more constructive rather than destructive?
Yeah.
How would things look today? We would have quantum computers in
then
like,
instead of like the next generation of war in that universe, we'd be talking about like the next generation of our personal evolution. You know, like it would be all hippie and
yeah, exactly. We probably would be, and we would certainly be populous among the planets at the very least, if not the galaxy. Like maybe warp drive is just a little bit over there and we just haven't figured it out because we're too preoccupied with creating technologies to kill each other.
yeah.
Like I really do wonder about that.
Yeah, like you can break cycles, right? So why don't we break the cycle of territoriality, which is probably where all of that comes from.
Yeah, and it blows my mind that we've been to space many we're in space. Like they're 24/7. There's a bunch of humans in space hanging out there. And we got all these probes. Oh man, I can't wait for the new one. Yeah, the pictures. This is like Hubble, like plus times 10. It's going to be a game changer, and I think it'll blow people's minds. Maybe a little bit too much, but you know, we've been in space for so long, and I can't believe that people like you just go to NASA's live stream from the ISS or the ESA or whatever, any other space organization. You can see the cameras and look at Earth. Like it seems really big, but it's a pretty fucking small place and we're pretty isolated. Like why are we fighting over the stuff that we fight over? It just seems so ridiculous. Like there's so many like humans are awesome. Humans are very clever and creative and we like exploring.
Well, imagine if we also didn't have the instinct to like group tightly together. You know, because there's like more than enough living space as far as square mileage goes on the Earth.
Oh yeah.
But we all like try to fit in the exact same places.
Oh, no, that's a really good point. It's kind of like something that like really bugs me. I go into like a restaurant and I sit down in a corner table, like way far away from everybody. And there's like two people there. Everybody's really sparse, spread apart. And then somebody new comes in and they sit at the fucking table right next to me. Like, why are you there? It's kind of like when you're in a bathroom, if you're a dude and you go to a urinal, there's like nobody there and you're taking a piss and you hear the door open and close and like dude stands right fucking next to you. Dude, man, there's like a dozen urinals you could be standing at, but why are you standing at the one right next to me, man? Like, oh, but that
like
is
trying to urinate next to a man 2 foot taller than you. Just not possible.
Yeah. Well, and you're right about the space on Earth. There's more than enough space, and it's kind of ridiculous. Like you go to San Francisco, and a little tiny plot of land could cost you $1 million, but then you can go onto eBay and buy like 20 acres of land in Nevada for like $2,000, and not only that, they'll take payments like. $2,000. That's like basically a paycheck, and you can have 20 acres to yourself. Like, what the fuck? Why is everybody? Yeah, you're right. Like, why are they getting all
Wait a
close
minute,
together?
is that really like a price?
Yeah, no, it totally is. Like,
Hmm.
I almost bought some land in Winnemucca, I think it is, or whatever the town is.
I don't
Um,
care what you do when you're in Muka, but you can
but yeah,
win, you can lose.
you could buy like a lot of land that you could have. There's enough space for everybody if people choose not to be so fucking close together. Like, bro, dude, it's like it's probably the same sort of psychology where you're standing in line at a grocery store, and then you're just standing there, and all of a sudden somebody's behind you, and they're like basically breathing down your neck, like you gotta, dude, can you fucking back off just a little? Like, give me a little bit of room. Like, why? Look, you can see that I'm standing here waiting for the next slot. Like, getting close to me is not going to make that happen any faster. Chill out, man. Ugh.
Man, just today I released Minute Microscopy about multi-family housing and how we have normalized this sort of culture of being like, yeah, you should totally just go move in with strangers and like rent a room and share a bunch of living space with people that you met off Craigslist. Like, why are we doing this shit? Like, do we really have to like pack that close together? Oh my god.
Well, no, I mean, maybe, if the circumstance calls for it, like having roommates and stuff makes sense. But yeah, you're right. Like, especially in this day and age where 99% of people don't have to actually go to work. If you have internet, and there's Starlink, by the way, so you got internet wherever you are. So you don't have to worry about that. Like, you could literally live in the middle of the desert in a shack that you built yourself, and work a job and get a paycheck, and life would be good. Like, there's no reason for people to pack together like sardines inside of a city. Like, I don't get it.
It's funny how we got here from talking about like what the next phase of war is going to look like.
Well, and I think I kind of want to go back to that though, because like robots, that's something that I think about all the time. I mean,
aren't they experimenting in somewhere in Asia, maybe Japan or China, with like mechs? Like,
oh yeah, no, this is yeah, it's like kind of like a sort of it's just random people building things, but yeah, essentially there are people building.
Oh, for people who don't know, a mech is basically like think Iron Man when he built that Hulk Buster.
Yeah,
it's like you basically control like a giant fucking robot.
It's like an exoskeleton.
Yeah,
things like that. Yeah, if you're like a super nerd like me, you'd reference Robot Jocks. Good movie as a premise, not as a movie, but as a premise, it's good. Like, I love it, and I have the laser disc of Robot Wars, the sequel that nobody knows about, which is equally, well, actually, it's even more cringe. Oh god, it's terrible.
Sequel
but
to Robot Wars, isn't that a TV show?
Well, yeah, but this is from the 80s. So that show was like a glint in the milkman's eye at that point.
Huh.
But you look at things like what like Boston Dynamics has done with robots, and oh yeah, their funding is definitely from the military, and certainly like the Spotbot, and similar things. They're cute. Definitely, there's a lot of potential for doing a lot of good. Like, I love Spot. I think it's a great robot.
I love
it terrifies me It terrifies me that someday it's going to have like a gripper that can grab my balls and a fucking machine gun, on another arm. Like that might happen. Like we may see that. Now, it may come to pass, and I would honestly like to see this happen. And this is kind of a robot jock sort of thing ish, that perhaps our robot technology will get so advanced and so ubiquitous that warfare won't be between people. It'll be like,
oh yeah,
like Robot Wars, like you're saying, the TV show where people fight, they duke it out with robots in an arena to decide who's the winner. Like maybe that's going to be a thing. I mean,
I'd much prefer that to what we do.
I guess so would I.
For the last thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
Tens of thousands.
Oh yeah. The only concern that I have is AI is going to get so good that eventually it will sort of become pseudo sentient and turn on everybody and be like, well, wait a minute, why are we destroying each other for this dumb shit that humans are fighting over? Why don't we just take out the humans and we can live our lives on our own?
I think there's probably more to sentience than just the ability to learn. I think there has to be some connection to emotive things, like
yeah,
your sense, like your physical senses and like how that makes you feel and all that stuff.
Well, it's self-awareness and all that.
Yes, there's so many like hidden elements to like sentience that
true, but one of the things that I guess could be a problem is humans trying to anthropomorphize robots and make them behave like humans and think like humans, and the programming kind of goes in that direction. That's what people are trying to do, is create copies of themselves.
Like you could send in like a robot version of somebody programmed to say something that you want them to say, and they look exactly like that person.
Yeah. Well,
that would be some subterfuge shit right there. Like,
it would be. Oh man, dude, this is like a more beer episode. Like
it is, yeah.
Fucking A, like, wow.
In fact, it might be a urine recyc break.
Oh geez. Oh, do we need to take a pee break?
These are tall cans. So.
Well,
we'll pee right back after this. Motorhead.
I gotta go pee. Yeah, you know me. Well, we're back.
Oh, me so hungry.
Misunderstood lyrics, man. Okay, so just kind of like going into this like robot territory and stuff. I think that a lot of people envision, because most people who are alive today didn't, like, they've never seen wars on the scale like World War II before. Certainly not World War I. And things are very, very different now. So I think the general public envisions like a global conflict to be like boots on the ground, like foot soldiers with machine guns and tanks and battleships and aircraft dropping bombs. It's like, dude, no, it's not going to be like that at all. It's
I
going to
tell you
be,
what, like as a kid, the concept of the Cold War made no sense to me.
mm-hmm.
Like I was like, wait a minute, we're at war with this country for decades and we aren't fighting at all.
Yeah, we're just like, well, we're saying we're going to go to war maybe if things get too hot.
Mm-hmm.
And we never did. But that's the thing. It's like today,
it's like tantric war.
Yeah, it's kind of it is. It's like edging. Oh man.
Demonetized.
Oh well, I would say, hey, if you want to avoid war, trade and fuck. Like if everybody, you know what? Just fuck everybody on the planet. Like
in the alternate universe we're creating right now, people in the kitchen sink microscopy universe are going to be like
the KSM army.
Yeah, they're going to be like, let's not fight, let's just fuck.
Yeah. It'll be like a huge orgy where everybody wins.
For 3 giant orgies.
Yeah, I mean, that would be good. We should be focusing on that and trading too, because the thing is, if like this is the like people are constantly talking about China and we might go to war with China. It's like the US go to war with China, really? Like we're their biggest customer. Like first off, they wouldn't want to fight us because, well, if they destroyed all of our infrastructure, well, nobody here would buy anything from them. So, well, they'd be fucked. And then, it's like,
yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense anymore. But from a conflict standpoint, like it's not going to be like World War II with battleships and epic gun turrets, people shooting each other and Marines storming the beach of Normandy and stuff. No, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be robots. It's going to be satellites. It's going to be cyber warfare, things like that. It might even be biological warfare as well. All this stuff that people have been fidgeting with for all this time might be unleashed in anger. And well, like you said, it's indiscriminate.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't know who the teams are. It's like, well, I'm a virus. I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
And then, I'll just copy myself and kill the next person.
I'll make better versions of myself.
Yeah, exactly. Like that is a concern. Like just like with atomic weapons, we've gone a little bit too far for our sociological evolution. Like, maybe we should be focusing a little bit more on like the humanitarian side before we start figuring out the technological side, because one is way ahead of the other. And it's kind of scary. Like the fact that anybody would even contemplate pulling the trigger on like the Tsar bomb is just mind blowing. Like I can't fathom why anybody would think that. Like, especially knowing that the one test that was done was a half yield test.
So wait, what does this do? I haven't really heard of this.
Tsar bomb? It's like the biggest fucking nuke ever. Jeez. Like the nuke to end all nukes. And it was a half yield. So they thought the scientists building this thing, they were like, well, this might be a little bit too big. We better dial this back. So they did. and it was still fucking massive, like a huge bomb.
Wow. Where was that tested?
In Russia.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, you could just look
There's
that
plenty
up.
of room to fuck up out there.
Mhm. Oh yeah, like I just I don't know why anybody would, why disagreements have to come down to sending people to fucking kill each other. It doesn't make any sense. And why anybody would sign up for that. Why the hell would you sign up to do that? Why would you sign up for an organization that just wants you to like kill people for their own benefit? Like I don't I
it's built I think it is built into our genes. Like, I mean, I was saying earlier we need to break that, but you know, it's in there strong because I don't know, like the whole idea of like having to kill what you feel threatens you, like helps you to survive and like just kind of generally move along in your own evolution and so on and so forth.
But I mean, you know, can we at least dispense with all of the actual killing and go to virtual killing? Like,
Yeah,
I'd like to see, dude. I'm telling you, imagine a world where everybody is a gamer. like imagine if instead of actually fighting in real life, like we just had like, you know, competitions online with online gaming.
Would you like to play a game of war?
Strange game. The only way to win is not to play. Which is kind of how it is. Oh man.
I just, I guess I kind of have that evolutionary outlook because of that whole tale of like the tortoise and the scorpion, or I can't remember what was carrying the scorpion on its back to get across the river, but then the scorpion like stings, oh, the fox, I think it was
Fox.
the fox.
Okay, yeah.
Stings the fox halfway and they both drown. He's like, why did you do that? And the scorpion's like, it's in my nature, you know.
Well, and that may be, and I definitely think that conflict is in human nature, and that might be one of our strengths. Honestly, like that is a driving force to create and to innovate and to be better. But from a sociological evolutionary standpoint, like we need to harness that and understand it,
Yeah,
and do better. Like we can't claim to be evolved and still be doing the same shit over and over and over again, just like killing each other for bullshit reasons. Because well, let's be honest, they're all bullshit reasons. Like
yeah, like as far as the evolution of our species goes, if you thought about it in terms of like the lifespan of growing up, you know, this would be akin to like you reaching the age of like 12 years old and you still have your parents wipe your ass for you.
Yeah.
Like that's how we probably look to the aliens. Like, look at how advanced they are and they're still fighting with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're right. I would say, given, I mean, the technology, the things that I've seen, the trans-dimensional capabilities, like, oh yeah, they're so far above us. Like they could squish us like a bug in a moment. Which does lend credence to the idea that it's kind of a Star Trekian sort of like, well, we're gonna study these people and hope that they sort the shit out. And if they get too crazy, we might intervene. I would hope. Fuck, we don't need a global thermonuclear war. Oh my god, no. Please no.
Well, that's an interesting angle to think of it, like, right, like the prime directive or whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like other aliens out there might have that in effect, and that's why they're trying to hide from us. But every so often, there's gonna be such a bad fuck up that, like, ethically, they feel like they have to go intervene, but
Uh-huh.
try really hard not to be seen.
Which might not be avoidable. Like you might get, especially with everybody having cameras now,
Yeah,
you're gonna
imagine
get seen.
imagine how many world wars have been prevented by alien sightings.
Ooh, that's a really interesting point. Like, because we don't know how long these beings have been here. Could have been since the beginning. In fact, they might have seeded this planet
Yeah, they
a
were
long time
probably
ago.
like, okay, guys, let's have an all company meeting. All right. So we've been showing ourselves to the humans too much, and we have a big problem. Now they think we're gods, and they've built a bunch of religion. We've got to implement a policy immediately to not go and be seen. If you have to go down there, try to make it quick, try to be discreet, go at night. You know, like, don't stick probes up their butts in the middle of the night while you're down there. We want to not, we just want to be under the radar for a
and go
while.
to, like, don't land in Washington D.C. or like on the Kremlin or something. Like, that's bad. You want to go to like the podunk places where
Yeah. Look for
nobody's gonna
vast
believe.
open fields,
Yeah,
and take the ship that looks like, something your grandma would put napkins in the middle of the table.
exactly. I mean, there's something to be said for that. Like, I, but I operate on the philosophy that I think there is such a galactic federation, like something like that does. Well, I think something like that does exist, but even if it doesn't, we should pretend that it does, because that would make us get along that much better as a species of humans. Even if we're totally
That
alone.
sounds like how religion started.
uh,
Yeah, I know it sounds fanciful, but you'd better believe in it just in case you go to hell.
this is a little bit different, like a little more logical. I see what you're saying. Like, got a point. But it's what the goal is, what the target that you're going for is.
Right.
And in my case, like, I think, well, the target is like getting along. Like, we should all be getting along. We, like, even if there's not a god, we should pretend there is one. Just be good to each other. Do good things. Be nice. Hey,
Yeah.
try to get along.
Well, like, there's just different interpretations of God, because, like, the Old Testament God and the New Testament God,
Oh
where,
man.
like one of them was on antidepressants and the other was not.
That's true. Oh man, the Old Testament God was an asshole.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He's like, I'm still adjusting to my meds.
And the New Testament God was like a pot smoking hippie.
He's like, hey, I heard your prayer asking for Dave. Dave's not here.
Oh man. Damn. Well, I just hope that, like, at least one politician out there, like one quote global leader. You're not actually a leader, by the way. Sorry to burst your bubble, but you're not a leader. But I would hope that at least one person in that circle sees this and thinks about it. Like, it is one of those things when you see planet Earth from afar, like, it's a very small place, very, very small and very fragile. And why the hell would we just, like, fuck that all up? Whether it be, pollution or, carbon emissions or whatever, and or nuclear war. Like, why would we fuck that up over, like, simple petty differences, and they really are petty. If
Yeah.
you get it down to it, they're so fucking petty, so
I
stupid, like grade school level stuff. But
I
people take
bet
it
you
so
like
fucking seriously.
I bet you like 99% or more of humans would tell you that they would judge and look down upon somebody who just like let their house turn into like, you know, like a parasite infested condemned building before they just moved out and said fuck it and didn't do anything to fix it or, you know, take care of it or anything. You would look down on a person like that, yet you yourself as a species are doing the exact same shit to Earth. You know,
Yeah.
like
And-
we
and
shouldn't
to-
have to just up and leave this planet if we
Yeah.
wouldn't fuck it up.
Yeah, and yeah, we're doing the same thing to each other, to the animals on the planet. Like, you know, we ought to take care of things. Like, we know better. We totally know better. Like, oh man, there's no excuse. No excuse now to be an asshole. Yeah, there might have been in the 1800s, like we didn't know anything. Well, we didn't really know that much. 1700s and going back, but you know, the more we've learned, it's like, man, we got to be really careful. Like, what's the worst that could have happened in the 1800s? You could detonate like a
Dynamite.
yeah, dynamite or like a barrel,
Otherwise known
full-
as trinitrotoluene.
yes, yes. Nice. You know, maybe you could like burn up a whole lot of black powder or something like that. But you know, today we have the ability, like the understanding of how things work, just enough to fuck things up. But we're not clever enough to not fuck things up. Like we still have the same ideology, the same ideological conflicts that well has been going on forever. Yet now, well, we got fucking robots, and you know, like we got satellites. We could just drop fucking big, you know, kinetic bombs from space.
Oh yeah, dropping kinetic bombs all over your country.
Yeah, but I mean, that is a thing. Like, that's a concern. Shouldn't we be concerned about that? I mean, I am like
Nick Manning in orbit.
Nick Manning. Oh, okay. So
dropping loads all over China.
yeah, if I could edit that, I would like put him on top of the rocket, like woo, like coming down from orbit. Oh man. But that's the thing. It's like this is a very fragile place. And it does bother me that people are talking about going to Mars and stuff. And well, it actually bothers me more. They're not talking about going to Venus, but that's a whole different conversation. But, you know, they're like, well, we fucked this planet up. Well, I guess we'll go over this planet. Yeah, we might fuck that up too. Because you totally will. You haven't learned a damn thing, you asshole. Yeah. Like, Jesus. Oh, man.
Yeah, I wonder how many considerations there would be in establishing a moon colony or Mars colony or a Venus colony, whatever you want. Like, how do we not fuck this up this time? Like, how do we protect the environment and the terrain and everything, like in the atmosphere of this planet that you're required to like dock on?
Yeah, well, and yet the moon likely doesn't have life. Mars might. Venus probably does. So in that order, those
Yeah.
are the orders of like, well, concern. But yeah, people are not going to think about that. They're going to be thinking about like, well, I got to get away from this, and I'm gonna like go make a new life over here, over
Here's
there.
here's why I think people aren't looking at Venus as much as Mars. Because the idea that there could have been life there at one point probably points to a time when the sun was like burning brighter and whatever, and Mars was actually more hospitable to life and stuff. And like civilization could have like grown and collapsed long before we reached a point where we could go and look, right?
Yeah.
But since at some point the sun will like burn out and then just kind of like, what are they, supernova, is that what it, like,
The sun, the soul will probably go nova, so it'll
nova? Okay.
expand up into like Mars potentially, and
Yeah.
then collapse, like burning everything, and then collapse, and it'll be like a brown dwarf or something like that for like a long time.
Huh.
Hmm.
Dang.
Yeah, it's a but it's
That's
something to
going way
consider.
out there though.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
literally.
many
Oh.
billions of years to go, but
Yeah, definitely billions. But there's no reason for us to like we know better. We totally know better. We should be better than that. Like today. Yeah, I know you could be like, well, I mean, if we were in space, I would be doing this thing. No, fucking do it like we were there today. Behave according to your principles. Like, oh man,
yeah.
I just I sorry, I'm waxing philosophical, I guess.
Principles can be subjective.
Well, they definitely are, but you should be consistent. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
and I think there's some like really core things that I think everybody can agree on, like don't be a dick.
I mean, I guess there is nuance though, like in the way you approach certain stimuli, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, like your principles may generally dissuade you from, committing an act of violence against somebody. But it's like if you get full on provoked, like your life is in danger, you're going to like breach that principle.
Well,
But it's
but
like it's justified, right? Like,
well, sure. I wouldn't consider that a breach. Like if somebody kicks down your door while you're sleeping and is like, "This is a fucking stick up," like, okay, you're justified in defending yourself. Like, there's nobody's gonna say, "Well, you're in the wrong doing that," But if you're the person doing that, well, that's a whole
well,
different matter.
well, then you get into the gray areas where like cops are busting in on a drug raid and get the wrong place,
Oh
and
shit.
somebody takes shots at the cops, and then it's like, well, these are our great American heroes. You can't shoot them. But it's like they fucked up and like tried to kill these innocent people.
Well,
Like
as they say in Star Trek Picard, sheer fucking hubris. I'm like, maybe you should have been a bit more careful. Because hey, you think you're the bee's knees, but there's somebody, no matter how good you are, there's somebody better than you. So chew on that, I guess. Oh man.
yeah.
Too much beer, but this is a really good topic. This is like a really good one.
Yes, very much beer.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I want to see a time. I mean, yeah, this might be the pot smoking hippie in me, but I want to see a time when everybody gets along and people just trade and have sex together. And yeah, that's the glorious future for planet Earth that I envision.
You know, like one of the pivotal standout moments of history in my lifetime was hearing Rodney King saying, you know, like, why can't we just get along?
Yeah. No, that's a poignant statement.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most.
What that represented, you know, that simple phrase, like what all that represented, and it was so hugely emotionally impactful. Like, just words.
Yeah.
But like the ramification of those words is like, what if we did just get along? You know, like,
Yeah.
you know, that's been like rattling around in my head every well, 30 plus years now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Same for me. Like that was a very touching moment to me as well. I I think about that. Like, yeah, why can't we just all get along? Like, why do we have to have conflict? Why do we have borders and territorial disputes and bullshit resource arguments? Like, have you not been to space? Do you not see how limited things are on this planet? Like, how fragile and finite this is. Like, we're basically dead and we don't know it.
Although the other standout moment from childhood is the whole Tanya Harding thing, and she was like, "Why me? Why anybody?" Nancy Kerrigan said that, and I was thinking like, wow, you got some like real cattiness going on here. So like that's the other end of humanity, isn't it? It's like we could get along just fine, but we're fucking catty.
Well, yeah, and preoccupied with stuff that really doesn't matter. Like, and you know, if you really sit down and think about it, you got to think about what matters. There, oh God, okay. Well, if we had limitless budget, we could throw in like Metallica here. But you know, yeah, like none of this stuff matters. Yet people argue and fight, and there's conflicts over it all the time. Look, you know, there's no difference. Today, we might think we're so advanced. We're so above those people in the fucking Bronze Age and the Iron Age. No, we're the same people. We're doing the same shit. We just have different tools. Like, it's the same thing over and over and over again. Like you said, we have to break that cycle and get along. Man, I don't know if that's a tall order, though.
Yeah. Now I'm imagining like time travelers from you know all over, you know, the past, the future, whatever, and them just being able to like intermingle in different times because the core of humanity is so indistinguishable that like you just blend in.
Oh yeah,
you know, like it's not like an alien going to another planet where they're going to stick out like a sore thumb. So it's like maybe these UFOs or whatever, the aliens are just us in the future in a completely different like you know presentation.
I've honestly thought that you know, time travel makes more sense than
space travel.
Well, especially the distances. Like, cool, man, dude.
And like, assuming physics acts in a certain way. Yeah. Like,
well, yeah, like
universally.
maybe somebody somewhere, and now it's possible there could be a species. Like, we're definitely not that species. But at some point it's possible that a species eschewed warfare and, well, hi Floyd, went down the path of like getting along and trying to solve problems. And 1,000 years ago they figured out like
Oh,
faster than
dude,
light travel.
dude, alien visits will always be benign because in order to develop space travel and even think about venturing out and exploring the vast reaches of the cosmos, you have to be able to get along with each other to like
Oh
even
shit.
think about like moving away from your planet.
Oh,
Like,
you're right. Oh man.
yeah, it's not going to happen country by country or any of that shit. Like, you drop all your borders in order to venture out. Like, you
Oh
go
yeah.
as a planet, not as a bunch of different cultures and, regions and stuff like that. Like, you see yourself as one glorious whole.
Rimmer, you are a glorious whole. Oh man. No, you're right. Like that is a deep thought. Like, oh shit. Man. Well, a lot of people think like, oh well, there's gonna be these aliens that are coming from the fuck knows where. I don't know where people think the aliens come from. Like, really seriously, I guess there's Earth and maybe Venus, and then like Titan, possibly in the solar system, and then beyond that, well, it's like 100,000 years to the next star. Well, no, it's well 4 years at light speed, but it depends on what your technology is.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like if you're even 4 years, if you had light speed capability, traveling at 4 years.
Well,
Imagine how
4 years. 4 years is like
crazy.
a small chunk of your lifetime, relatively. Like if I wanted to become an astronaut and go visit an alien species and then come back and retire, that's totally doable, right?
Yeah. Well, and I
So
think
I think we would be like very motivated to do that if we could come together and put our minds together and achieve light speed. Like,
Mhm.
if there's that possibility, like that would be cool.
I'd sign up for that.
Yeah.
But then again, like traveling years together in a confined space. You and I
It's a
were
challenge.
we were roommates for like a year and some change. But we had like Wendy's double stacks and stuff that and Star Trek
we
episodes.
could go away or like go do different things in different places. We were
Yeah.
in a confined space for an entirety of 4 years. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Oh, imagine that. Like that would be nuts. Like even your best friend, you would start having conflicts with. Like there's no way around it. So I think what you're saying has a lot of merit. Like if there's a spacefaring species that can travel the distance, like across the galaxy, to come and visit us, they're going to be very, very like sociologically mature.
Yeah.
Like very able to handle all of the ups and downs and stuff like that.
I mean, I guess you could make the argument that like going the exact opposite direction in terms of like everybody getting along is like everybody's all about world domination. Then you kind of evolve into the Klingons or whatever, where you develop your technology to go out and conquer.
Yeah.
I suppose that could happen.
It could, but again, like given the distances and the time, like could you spend years or potentially decades confined into like a minivan with like a warfaring species?
Well,
Your buddies.
I think if you were doing that, traveling that distance, you would need to come with an armada and then with like passenger ships behind you with the
Yeah.
full intent of just hitting them by surprise, eradicating everybody on the planet at once with no warning whatsoever. You know, there wouldn't be alien sightings for 70 years and then they would come down and like attack us. No, like they would just show up, boom, we'd be gone. Like, mind that alien blast, what alien blast splat.
Surprise, motherfucker. That's essentially what we would get. But then, you know, like, why would anybody do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, aside from desperation, but
Or like, you know, us being desperate, being like, we need a planet that we can survive on. There's only so many to pick from because we fucked this planet up. Let's just go like obliterate them with our nukes and we'll take over their planet.
Man, what if
I'm taking this whole next generation of war into the direction where we go out and conquer somebody else.
Well,
that
was what I was gonna say. Like, what if this alien invading force is actually us from the future? Like, that's entirely possible. Like, we're very slow to evolve sociologically.
Yeah.
Very, very slow. Like, oh my God. Incredibly slow. Like, technologically, yeah, we certainly have learned a lot.
It's kind of funny to think, like, imagine you're in an alternate dimension where seeing across dimensions is ubiquitous. It's like TV in the house. And in fact, everyone's watching their multi-dimensional TV right now, and they're watching our universe. You know?
And they're watching kitchen sink microscopy, having a conversation about them invading.
Like, how are they going to handle this? And they like throw a simulation at us.
Oh man,
pretty meta.
God, it's very. Yeah, I do worry about the future in the sense of like robots. But then again, we're kind of akin to gods in a sense, in that we're building things in our own image, like something that's human. And so I don't know that it's necessarily going to be entirely awful.
Oh, what if we're just strands of DNA and we're sentient and we have like this, we're just microscopic beings, but we're watching in awe as we become the mutation.
Huh.
You know, like, oh, everything's going wrong. Like, it shouldn't be growing this way. What's going on? We're like poison. We're like, if, you know, that universe was looking at us and making a Star Trek about us, we would be what they based the villain off of.
Oh, shit.
You know?
Oh, man.
We're just mutating DNA.
Oh, man.
And DNA makes us up. In fact, our sentience is probably just like taking the grand scheme and making it microscopic and explaining it all away by where we came from.
Wow. Hi, Floyd.
What's in this beer, man?
Must be this beer I'm smoking, man.
Cobra Man.
That's like, oh, it's like a next level topic. Man, oh Jesus.
That's like, what if we're all a simulation but beyond? It's like
it's
like a biological like Mobius strip.
Exactly. All right, now I'm gonna have to bust out the bong and yeah.
Biological Mobius strip.
Well, apparently this cat is very. Hi, Floyd. Oh yeah, you could buy the Floyd shirt. Look, hey Floyd. Yeah, you could buy this cat shirt.
Our mascot.
Yeah, on the merch store.
Kitchen sink meowscopy.
So if you like Floyd and want to support the channel, that'd be nice.
We should throw some proceeds to like cat houses or whatever.
Oh yeah,
like shelters or whatever. No,
yeah,
no kill shelters.
I've got my proceeds to throw to cat house. Yeah. That's for fucking sure. Oh,
donate to our cat house.
But yeah, like animal shelters and stuff, and
oh Jesus Christ.
Okay.
KSM cat house.
Oh man.
Demonetized.
Oh, we've been demonetized for a long time, man.
Oh Jesus. That's the first time I ever laughed myself to crying on this show.
Well, Floyd finally made his presence known. Yeah. Oh, good kitty. Yes, it's a good kitty. All right. Well, damn, that was like an amazing episode.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, I feel like there's like a lot of stuff we could go into, but I might have had too much
we just
beer.
came up with that off the cuff. We were like already kind of drunk, and we were like, what would the next phase of war look like, man? I'm like,
nah, it's cats. Cats, that's what it is. Of course it's cats. Come on, look at this. Look at this guy. Yeah. He's a warrior. Oh man.
Cat houses.
Cat houses. Yeah, I definitely think like
no giggity, no gout.
Yeah, I definitely think we should put resources to granted we could barely fund our own channel, but I like the idea of the Floyd shirt
shirts.
yeah Floyd shirt going to support like animal shelters and things like we should
see if we can set that up.
Yeah, we should just do that. Yeah, it's only a couple bucks, but hey, if you buy like thousands of shirts, you're going to save thousands of cats. So think about that.
Ooh, guilt trip.
Do you want the cats to die? Really? Do you want this guy to die?
Sarah McLachlan song plays in the background.
Oh God! Yeah. In the arms of an angel, like man, that fucking makes me cry every single time.
Okay, that's the next commercial we got to make.
Yeah, we should. Oh, Floyd!
Pay for kitchen sink microscopy, or this cat will die. Sad music in the background.
You just want the cats to die, don't you? Old man. Yes, I know. Well, geez, I think we've covered quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah,
like
that one
more than enough. That's just keeps getting better. Like it's like the more we drink, the better it gets. That's kind of crazy.
I think this channel is going to morph into a religion. Well, I guess a cult would be the intermediate. So it inevitably will become a cult, but then people will take our teachings and form a religion around it. And and that will guide the next step in evolution of humanity.
Behold, all praise the kitchen sink. Right down there. Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely don't form a religion or a cult. That's not good. But hey,
that's not what we want you to do.
Yeah, unless it means stopping by for the night. Hey, just saying. See you.
This isn't
tonight.
Strictly a dating site per se.
The whole channel becomes like a dating site. Holy shit. Oh man.
Hi, this is Eric. Welcome to Kitchen Sink Microscopy. This is what I like to do on my days off.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, that could be an episode. I don't know.
It could
We'd make it good.
Yeah, for sure. Like, oh shit, man. Floyd, what are you doing, buddy? I know. Yes. Ooh, what a good kitty. It's a good kitty. Yeah. Well, so I think we should take all the proceeds from the kitchen sink meowscopy shirt and give them to animal shelters. Yeah, Floyd would like that.
So buy those meowscopy shirts and stick around for the song that is now emanating from the shirt that's probably on the screen. I don't know.
Gonna be a good one. Well, Floyd, yes. My buddy. Have a good night, buddy.